Joining us right now, live on the line, as promised, the outstanding general manager of your Orlando Magic, John Hammond, who's nice enough to give us a few minutes live on the line. John, welcome back to the show. It's Adam Schein, Schein on Sports, Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio. How are you?
Great, Adam. Thanks for having me on.
It is great to have you on the show. So much I want to talk to you about. You make the deal yesterday for Markelle Fultz, and there's obviously a lot there. First and foremost, I'm curious, what do you anticipate you're getting in Markelle Fultz?
Well, you always have hope and anticipation. That's what we do. We all live for that. We all live for the best outcomes. And, for a guy like Markelle, what we're hoping is a guy who lives up to the expectations of being the number one pick in this draft. And, the difference is, I think, for him to get this opportunity in Orlando is he doesn't walk on the floor as that. He just walks on the floor as Markelle Fultz, a part of this Orlando Magic organization. And we want to support him and give him every opportunity to get comfortable, have his confidence, and become the player that people know that he is.
What kind of grade did you have on him when he was coming out of the draft? Did you think he was worthy of being the number one overall pick?
Of course. I think, you look back in that draft, hindsight's always 20/20. But of course, he was in that grouping. He was when Philly takes him with the number one pick. I didn't hear anyone look around and go, "Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? They take Fultz at 1." He was a guy that was deserving of that honor. I had a chance to watch him play, saw him play at UW, and saw the capabilities that he had, and I think he's very worthy of being the number one pick at that time.
John, you think of your background, you think of scouting, development. You're one of the best in the business, and we'll get to what you did in Milwaukee coming up in a little bit because, you built that team. Listen, I'm curious. How much do you go back to Washington versus how much you saw over the last couple years from Markelle Fultz in Philadelphia?
No, Adam, I think that's a great question, and that's exactly the world we had to live in. We had to go back to UW.
Yeah.
We had to go back to what we saw there and say, this is who he is, and know that's in there. That's interesting that I think when you talk about scouting, and once you see it in a guy, you may go back and watch him have another game, doesn't play quite as well, or maybe a couple games he doesn't play quite as well. But I think one of the most important things is go back to say, but hey, don't forget, what you saw is in this guy, and that's what we believe Markelle can be.
When you look at the issues in Philly, was it more mental? Was it more physical? Why did Markelle Fultz struggle in Philadelphia?
Adam, I don't have that answer. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
As we're in this process now of having him as a part of this organization, we've talked about those sort of things and looked into it and talked to people that have been around him. But that's I don't know the exact answer to that. I'm sure what you just said, the comments you made, is probably a little bit of all of those things.
Sure. So now moving forward, first of all, is he healthy? Is he ready to play for the Orlando Magic?
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this thing slow.
Yeah.
We're in no hurry to put him on that floor. We don't want to overexpose him until he is ready to, once again, as we said, to kind of be that guy that the anticipation of who he was going to be in this league. So we want to get him comfortable, have his confidence back. And I don't know how soon that is going to take, but I can just tell you this, we're in no hurry to get him there. We want to make sure we get it right for him.
What a brilliant answer. I'm not surprised by that. Now, with that said, is it a guarantee he would play for you guys this year, or are you open-minded to Markelle not even playing a game this season for the Orlando Magic?
Yes. I would say the answer to that is yes. We would be open to that. But look, we don't know. We've got to be with him, spend some time with him, get him comfortable around us, have him us comfortable with him, and once we get to that point, we'll put him on the floor. We do not have a timetable as to when that's going to happen.
I love that. So who would make that decision? Is that Coach Clifford? Is that you? Is that the training staff? Is that the entire organization getting together?
Yeah, and Adam, that's exactly what it is. It's all of that. It's going to be our performance team, from a medical standpoint, physical standpoint. It's going to be our coaching staff. It's going to be the support group that we have around him. So, like we think, I think Jeff Weltman's done a great job here.
Yes.
Since he's taken over this organization and putting a great infrastructure around this organization, from those groups I was talking about, from our off-court player development to our performance team to the coaching staff. And, that's why we've invested this kind of time, this kind of money, and this kind of effort into the infrastructure for just situations exactly like Markelle.
How would you define success for Markelle Fultz in Orlando?
Why not? Why not say, we'd love to have him be an all-star? Look, I'm sure if you ask Markelle what he wants to be, I'm sure he's going to say, I want to be one of the best players in this league, and I want to be an all-star. So why not hope that for him? If you ask, what we would like, that's what we would like. But once again, we want to do this right and not put any undue pressure. So I answer that question by saying that's what we would like, but just nurture him through that process, nurture him to that point where he can become that.
It sounds like this is a pretty well-thought-out plan, which I'm not surprised, knowing you and your background, even going back to when you say you saw him at Washington. I'm curious, John, for someone like Markelle and this kind of trade, how long did you guys internally kick the tires on this? And when did you realize this was reality and or he was available in a deal from the Philadelphia 76ers?
Well, look, we all do what we do. It's a part of our business. We get on the phone, we talk about people's rosters. They talk about our roster. We exchange notes, we exchange ideas. But things like this come to fruition late. I mean, it's not something that sits on the table for 2 weeks and then all of a sudden you make the deal. So, the deal was made yesterday and it came to fruition yesterday. But, there's a lot of discussions along the way up to that decision.
Now, is it one where, you see the Tobias Harris trade and, you guys gather in Orlando and say, you know what, this might be a good opportunity to make a deal for someone like Markelle Fultz?
I don't really think so. I don't think with Philly, one decision precipitated another for them to be able to say, well, now this is the time to make a trade like this. I think, it was just the process everyone went through is working up to the trade deadline.
How would you define the 2018-2019 season for Orlando? Great win yesterday. Ross was on fire. I love Coach Clifford. I think he's a gem. Obviously, we've seen what transpired with the injury, unfortunate, with Mo Bamba. How would you describe and characterize the season for the Orlando Magic?
We're not where we want to be. I mean, look, our hope was you start out the season, I think all 30 teams say that they want to be a playoff team, and that's the hope and anticipation. And then you look and say, well, for us, as an example, that if we stay healthy and we have some guys overachieve, we can become one of those playoff teams. We're on. So today is not where we want it to be because we're still on the outside looking in. We want to be in the playoff race, not on the outside looking in of it. So we're there, but we've got to get better, and we know that.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. You guys are moving in the right direction. John Hammond, of course, the Magic General Manager with Adam Schein, Schein on Sports, Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio. John, obviously, you got that singular focus on Orlando and getting this team back into the playoffs. Can you sit back and take a second and smile on what's going on with Giannis in Milwaukee? Because you're the guy responsible for Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, it's great. A lot of us in the business of sport and other things, you move on and you look back for where you've been and things you've been a part of. And when you see success, you're happy about that. And if you had a little small part of that, there is that warm feeling inside that makes you, happy. And so, yeah, happy. I'm extremely happy for Giannis, extremely happy for the Milwaukee Bucks organization and the fans there, and so it's a great story.
Did you have any idea when you traded for Chris Middleton that he was going to turn into this kind of all-star?
No.
That's a great answer. Yeah, me neither.
But look, Chris. Chris was a potential lottery pick when he was playing at Texas A&M, and he had the knee injury. So this is a guy that had this kind of ability. It's people think, well, second round pick, look what he did, but no, he only slipped because of his injury. Had he stayed healthy, who knows where he'd have gone in the first round? Could he have been a lottery type player. So, look, once again, going back to the same thing, when you watch Chris, you say, well, wow, this guy could be special. Injuries occur, he comes back, he fights back. Look, wouldn't it be great if this is the same kind of story about Markelle Fultz? Same sort of thing happened. So, that's what we hope for. Another guy, Chris Middleton, you don't find a better man, more deserving of an honor like this. So happy for him.
Oh, it's awesome. I love hearing that. How would you describe the trade deadline yesterday? I was really into it. A lot of great deals. I think that, 3 of the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference made big-time trades. Anything jump out to you? Any surprises or business as usual for the trade deadline yesterday?
I don't know to pinpoint one trade in particular. I don't think I would do that as much as to say, well, I got to be honest with you. I was surprised of all the activity that occurred, even like yesterday in itself. So a lot of movement, a lot of key players, shifting teams, and you can see there's teams that saying, hey, look, this is it's for us. This is the now time. We need to try to win today, and teams put themselves in a position to do that.
Everyone in the NBA, right or wrong, talks about July and what's next. I remember talking to Coach Clifford last year saying, I think the Magic are on the cusp of being, that team again where you're going to start talking about Orlando being a destination. Obviously, great place to live. You talk about the infrastructure. If I'm a big-time free agent coming up, why do I want to sign, John, with the Orlando Magic?
Adam, it comes down to like, oh, yeah, hey, nice place to live, good weather, state tax, all those sort of things you can talk about. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to one thing. To me, is can I win there? Guys, first and foremost, they want to win. And you can see a lot of things happening around this league and, teams making decisions, players making decisions. All those decisions are based on one thing, and that's winning. So I think it's going to come down to someone at some point looking at this organization and saying they can win, and I want to be a part of it.
John, this is a brilliant interview. I love what you have to say about Fultz, and I love going back to the Washington days. I love the expectations, how you guys are going to handle it. Continued success, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate you.
John Hammond, of course, the Magic general manager.